Stocks perk up, led by a rebound in IT counters as local majors stitch tie-ups with global AI leaders. PSU banks, FMCG and industrials are the other prominent gainers going into F&O expiry on NSE today. Infosys inks a strategic collaboration with Anthropic to bridge the agentic AI and complex enterprise gap. The duo will develop AI-powered solutions for key sectors, starting with telecom. Other IT players like Happiest Minds are looking at similar arrangements to accelerate AI adoption in enterprises. Infosys chairperson Nandan Nilekani emphatically states that there is no opportunity gap with AI and the opportunity is bigger than ever before. He adds there will remain a need for talent, but the roles will change, posing a big reskilling challenge for organizations. India's chief negotiator is expected to visit the US next week for talks on the trade deal, which could be signed in March. India will pursue the reduction of duties from 25% to 18% across product categories in the upcoming talks. India's goods trade deficit in January surges 48% from a year ago to over $34 billion due to threefold jump in gold imports to over $12 billion. However, a 26% rise in services exports kept overall trade deficit at a modest $10.4 billion. Hello and welcome to Business Lunch, live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studio. I'm Arundhati Ramanan. Good afternoon, guys, and it is a good afternoon for the markets as well. As you can see, the Nifty holding well above that 25,700 mark, about 0.2% in the green. Sensex also doing well. Mid-cap index also gaining in line with the blue chips. The Nifty Bank also the same, 0.3% in the green. And, you know, as we've been saying, it's because of the IT index, which is up nearly 3%. Big recovery from last week's 8% fall. Infosys, HCLTech and Wipro, all of them gaining between 2 and 4%. Obviously, the commentary coming in from Infosys about AI has boosted all of these stocks, and all of them are gaining in trade today and are the top Nifty gainers. PSU banks, that's the other index that's also doing well. Bank of Baroda, PNB and Union Bank, all of them rising over 3%. However, with the fall in prices of precious metals, it's that metal index which is feeling the heat. It's in the red and is the top losing index. Hindustan Copper, SAIL, Hinzinc, all of them falling between 2 and 4% in the red. But as I pointed out, it's the IT stock that's on our radar. IT stocks surged as Infosys announced an AI partnership with Anthropic and lays out a roadmap for the AI opportunity. Rima Tendulkar is here with all of those details. Rima?
Thanks so much for that. So as you rightly pointed out, we are seeing a rebound in stocks, and this comes after stocks had seen a one-way fall. But even the Infosys Investor AI Day has allayed some concerns. So Infosys Chairman Nandan Nilekani has pretty much reassured investors it's not that companies like Infosys are missing out on the AI opportunity. He said that there is no opportunity gap. The opportunity is bigger than ever before. The risk lies not in opportunity, but in execution. So therefore, you still have to ask the question, what is your company doing to take advantage of this new world of the AI world? And you keep hearing about how agentic AI, you can get the work done in half the time, in less than half the time, with less than half the engineers, to which he said that technology is evolving at a faster pace than enterprise deployment and adoption. He said it's easier to gain productivity gains for an individual task at a project level. But to get productivity levels at an enterprise level, at an organization level, is very complex. So there is a difference between the task level productivity, what he calls greenfield, that you see when these companies like LLM make the announcements, versus what is actually happening in the enterprises. And for the first time, Infosys has also quantified the, in a way, the total addressable opportunity, the TAM. They said the AI-first services opportunity stands at $300 to $400 billion by 2030, and they have identified 6 emerging AI pools to capture that. And as you rightly pointed out, the other big development is that many of these companies are now expanding their partnerships. So Infosys tied up with Anthropic, which will help Infosys build AI-first enterprise solutions. Yesterday it was TCS and AMD, which is more in the compute and hardware ecosystem. And I suspect we will keep hearing more and more of these technology partnerships.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those details, Rima. And as you pointed out, Infosys earlier today announced a collaboration with Anthropic to unlock AI value across complex and regulated industries. Let's listen in to what the IT giant had to say about the AI opportunity.
There is no opportunity gap. If anything, the opportunity is bigger than ever before. So don't get distracted by that. You should still ask the question, what is the firm doing to take advantage of this? What is the firm doing to transform its talent for this new world? What is the firm doing to design the services and products for this new world? What are they doing to tell the customer in a way that it resonates? What are they doing to make sure that the front-end conversations with clients are done properly? These are all the issues, and I'm sure everybody will not execute the same way. So there is an execution risk in doing that. So it is not an opportunity risk, it's an execution risk.
The legacy modernization piece, this is a massive, large opportunity that we are seeing. In addition to customer service, one of the largest opportunities, where we are essentially taking large legacy organizations. We'll actually share a couple of examples of this, of the work we're doing at scale, and bringing them away from the legacy landscape into the modern landscape. Physical AI is something quite new, where AI software is embedded into devices, and that is becoming a growth area because everything will have AI built into it. And then AI trust, which is both about the trust and cyber, but it's also about responsible AI, which is something where Infosys is leading in making sure that things are built with a view to keep responsibility in mind in the scaling of IT systems. There's a huge opportunity. The one that I mentioned, the 6 areas with an external analysis, we understand that the opportunity is between $300 and $400 billion in the year getting to 2030. So over that time frame, at that time in 2030. At the same time, we have several entities have made estimates. We have our own views. The AI productivity leads to compression in IT services. However, today we have a clear view that the opportunity is massive and large, and that will become the driving force of what we will grow and drive through in the next coming years.
Artificial intelligence remains in focus with the second day of the India AI Impact Summit currently underway. The summit so far today has featured conversations with key stakeholders, including software companies like HCLTech and policymakers like IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, who believes that India can get investments of up to $200 billion over the next year itself. Listen into his comments.
Real-world solutions at population scale and global consensus on what is the right use, what is the good use of AI.
At this point, sir, in the days you've been having multiple conversations with the media, with stakeholders. There was a lot of indication that there's growing interest here in India. We've already seen big investments. Can we expect some more in the course of this week?
Given what we have heard from the global industry, both from the infra players as well as from the VCs, over next 1 year, we are likely to get about $200 billion worth investment.
We have had the opportunity to visit various pavilions, including some Indian AI companies. We're expecting big announcements in terms of sovereign tech, in terms of sovereign tech capabilities.
Our sovereign models have been calibrated and tested on various parameters, and on so many different parameters, our sovereign models are proving to be better than many of the global best, and the effort that has gone in, the innovation that has gone in, has really proved to be successful.
A lot of conversations, sir, have also started talking about AI and what it means in terms of disruption for the IT industry, for jobs. I remember you also mentioned it at the time of some of the investments that were being made. How are you looking at this conversation? Do you see that unfolding here at the part of the AI Impact Summit as well?
We must be cognizant of the real challenges that we have to face. And to face this challenge, we must upskill, reskill, and create a new pipeline of talent For this, the industry as well as the government and the academia, three of us are clearly focused on getting the right skilling, upskilling and reskilling and the talent pipeline to be created for that.
And one final question, sir, one message that you'd like to leave. A lot of big faces are expected here. The likes of, we have Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, Sundar Pichai. One message that you'd like to leave the big tech community with as they depart from New Delhi at the end of this week.
India will play on front foot on all the 5 layers, full AI stack.
On that note, it is time for us to head into a short break, but more news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Business Lunch. India's trade deficit hit a 3-month high, and the big culprit, besides falling exports to the US, was the very high gold imports. Gold imports rose 3 times over year-ago levels, and Lata Venkatesh is here to decode that data for us. Lata?
Yes, the trade deficit has come in at $34.5 billion, which is a 3-month high. We did even worse in October when even more gold was bought because of Diwali. Now, the January import figure was 20% higher year on year, but the export was flat at about $36.5 billion. So that's why the trade deficit was high. The import was high at 20% because of gold. Imports came in at 12 billion, which is more than a 3-fold jump over year-ago level. Year-ago January, we imported only $2.7 billion of gold. Now, why was this gold imported? We can guess now. If you remember last week, the AMFI data, Association of Mutual Funds data, said that the total amount of ETF inflows into India is in January equaled that of equity flows, some 24,000 crores. Now, ETFs have to be backed by physical gold to some extent, and probably that contributed to the very high gold imports. Among the other names that we should know, engineering exports did very well. And shockingly, electronics exports, which we thought were untouched by tariffs, were actually flat. We hope it is a one-off. Among other things, textiles did badly, again because of US, and marine exports did well. They have diversified in spite of the US tariffs. To give the full April-Jan picture, April-Jan exports are up 2.2%, but April-Jan imports are up 7.2%. However, what we must know is services exports are up about 26% in January alone. And therefore, the overall deficit is not very high. I forgot to mention, US exports are down about 22% in January. But if you take April-Jan, it is still up by about 6%.
All right, Lata. Many thanks for explaining that data to us. But let's shift our focus to the bond market. Manisha Gupta joins us now on why bonds are under pressure and upcoming corporate bond issues. Manisha?
Well, the bond markets have seen most government bonds actually trading on the lower side, and this is because traders have placed short bets on the gilts. Though the investor demand for the high-yielding US securities has still been on the stronger side. 379 billion rupees is what the state bond auction is about today, and most of the market really seems to be making way for this money therein. Interestingly, also, the paper maturing within 10 to 20 years is getting bid higher due to lucrative yields that it seems to be offering therein. And then apart from that, there are a lot of issuances that are coming in this week as well. This is from the Indian private placement market, and I have a list that I have collated for you. You have ECAP equities, which is looking at 2.75 billion. This is through April 23rd, 2029 bond therein. The bidding for this one is today. Akara Capital Advisors Private is another one on the list. 2.3 billion is what they're looking at, and this is via 3 bonds reissue. And then you have Incred Financial Services Private Limited, Services Limited rather. They're looking at 600 million. This is via 14th August 2028 bond as well. Bidding for this one also is, by the way, today itself. And then there are some of these companies which are coming in for bidding tomorrow and for the rest of the week as well. Moneywise is for tomorrow, financial services that is, and they're looking at 250 million. This is via 2-year bonds. There's REC Limited, which they are in the market this week for 30 billion. This is via Feb 18, 2028 bond therein. Prestige Estate, we've been talking about that one for some time. They're coming in for 20 billion of an issuance. This is happening via NCDs. And then you have JSW Steel Board coming in for 50 billion via NCDs yet again. We have Torrent Power Board, which has approved 30 billion rupees of issuances via NCDs. Axis Bank has seen board approval coming in for 350 billion. They are raising this money via debt. And then you have Poonawalla FinCorp. They're looking at 10 billion via NCDs as well.
All right, Manisha, many thanks for those details. But on that note, it is time for us to head into another short break. But more news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with us on Business Lunch. French President Emmanuel Macron has arrived in Mumbai for an official visit from February 17th to the 19th at the invitation of PM Modi to participate in the AI Impact Summit. Maharashtra Governor and Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis received the President and First Lady Brigitte Macron late last night. Later this afternoon, PM Modi and French President will hold bilateral engagements at Lok Bhavan in South Mumbai and then will inaugurate the India-France Year of Innovation 2026 and address a gathering of business leaders, startups, researchers and other innovators from both countries. And let's take a check of where the markets are at. Still holding in the green, both the Nifty and the Sensex, 0.3% in the green. And the Nifty holding above that 25,700 mark. It's at about 25,750 as we speak. The mid-cap index also rising in tandem with those blue chips. And Nifty Bank doing slightly better. And if you take a look at the advanced decline ratio, we've got 1,977 stocks gaining for 953 stocks that are falling. And if you take a look at the sectors that are doing well, we've got that IT index, which is gaining nearly 3%. And that's a big recovery considering the 8% fall that it saw last week. We've got Infosys, HCLTech, Wipro, all of them gaining in trade. Infosys is the top Nifty gainer. So we've got that stock is gaining over 4%. The other index that's also doing well in trade are those PSU banks. But before we end the show, let's cut across to Shireen Bhan, who's speaking to Jeetu Patel of Cisco from the India AI Impact Summit.
Hello and welcome to CNBC TV18's special coverage. We're live from the India AI Impact Summit. I'm Shireen Bhan. A lot of the conversation so far has been focused on what AI can potentially do, how disruptive is it going to be, but also how transformative will it be in the long term. To talk to us about Cisco's plans with AI and for AI, joining me now is Jeetu Patel. Jeetu, always great to have you. Thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18. You know, let's start by talking about what we're seeing happen today. The tech has clearly accelerated at a much faster pace than anyone expected it to, but adoption is still patchy and it's lagging fairly behind the advancements that we're seeing on tech.
Yeah, so firstly, thank you for having me on the show and welcome to the Cisco booth. So if you take a step back, what's happening in AI right now? We're moving from this first phase that was around chatbots intelligently answering questions to now agents being able to conduct tasks and jobs for us fully autonomously. And if you think about the big structural shift that's happening, it's important to take a moment and actually reflect on it. It's not just about using this as a tool for productivity. These are digital co-workers that are going to be augmented to our teams. And they'll actually be part of the team in the way that they work.
Digital co-workers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's going to get, it starts with knowledge work, but then as physical AI and robotics actually starts to pick up, you will start seeing this in every sector where you'll actually have additional capacity getting augmented to what we currently have with the human corpus. And what that allows us to do with the human corpus of knowledge is making sure that we can continue to go out and solve problems we could never solve before. Now, going back to your question on, you know, the capability overhang is real. There's the ability for the exponential curve continuing on these innovations is very rampant. But organizations take a while for the absorption rate to actually catch up. So this is the one, in 2026, what we want to see is absorption rates of organizations start to catch up with the pace that AI is moving at. And you're now starting to see that in certain areas, like for example, in coding and development.
Right.
We are now seeing a tremendous amount of progress being made over there that we would not even think possible 6 months ago. And you'll actually start seeing that in multiple different industries.
Well, speaking of the changes that we're seeing in the way that companies code, let's talk a little bit about what you're doing. You have your first product, which has been entirely built by AI out in the market, and you expect, what, half a dozen more?
Yes, Shireen, this is actually funny because a year ago when we would talk about this, people would think we're crazy, saying that this is going to be an area where we will start seeing AI build products almost entirely. And now what you're seeing is not just Cisco, but Claude Code is being entirely being built by Claude Code, and Codex is entirely being built by Codex. We were lucky enough that we were one of the first design partners of Codex, several months ago. And what we were able to do is really start thinking about the workflows that a developer actually uses, getting completely rethought. So today what we have is 100% of our code in a product called AI Defense, which is a safety and security product, that is now being built with AI. And you're absolutely correct. Our goal is to make sure that we have at least a half a dozen products by the end of the year. But over time, it's not just the fact that they're being built by AI. You'll actually be able to solve problems and build the kind of code that's way better than what just humans could do. But the question that then comes up is, what do engineers do?
Yeah, exactly. What happens to humans?
And so, firstly, syntax is only about 20 to 30% of the job of an engineer. How you think about what products to build, are they going to be relevant for the market? Are you going to make sure that you drive a level of rigor in the thinking of it? That's an area that humans are still going to be very valuable at. So the goal is going to change. You're going to move from
So how are you reorienting your teams already?
We're completely changing the workflow. So the way that we used to think about building these tools and code was engineers would basically be writing code, and that became the bottleneck. That is no longer the bottleneck, but reviewing code is definitely going to be a bottleneck. Identifying and applying human judgment to what specific products to build is still something that you're going to need humans for. But what you now have is aided capacity. So if you had a certain number of workers, engineers in the world, that's going to compound in volume. And as a result, you'll have much, much more software. But you have to make sure that you keep in mind that AI slop can't be a natural byproduct of it. You have to make sure that you build good quality software for the market.
When we talk about agents and the concern and the worry is, are there enough guardrails in place? We do already have instances of agents going rogue. I mean, that's a problem you're trying to solve, but how worried are you about that?
Well, see, firstly, the blast radius used to be that an AI is going to give me the wrong answer. That's no longer the blast radius. The blast radius now is AI going to take the wrong action, which has a far greater consequence than just give me the wrong answer. So what we have to do is take a step back and say, what do we need to do in every single systematic way to fundamentally rethink every role that a company has within an organization? The workflows have to change. If you just use this as a tool for productivity, you're going to get marginal improvements. If you think about this as an augmentation to your capacity planning model, you will see a very, very different kind of outcome.
The CapEx